Timothy Bradley brings up Errol Spence Jr. car wreck in his fight prediction for a Spence versus Terrence Crawford potential fight. Roll the clip.
That Terrence has more dog than Spence. I'm getting that a lot when I'm asking about this fight, about Spence and Crawford. But I feel like maybe Spence's quietness is maybe getting taken for weakness, maybe, or something. Or do you feel that, you know, the guy with more dog is Terrence Crawford?
What the hell does a dog got to do with anything? Both these dudes are champions. Both of these motherfuckers are dogs. What you talking about? Both of them, man. More dog than the other dog. Come on, man. Like, you know, Terrence is a dog, so is Spence. Motherfucker Smith got thrown in. Terrence ain't never been thrown out of the car 100 miles an hour and still survived and didn't have nothing wrong with him. That's dog. That's dog. That's Jesus with you. That's what I mean. you call that whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, dog.
Divine intervention,
like,
right
that's
there.
No joke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then come back and then fight a guy like Danny Garcia. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. And then they come in and fight Ugas. Like, trust me, man. Spence ain't no joke, man. He ain't no joke. Terrence ain't no joke either. Both these dudes, that's why they got to get in the ring, because we got to see what's going to happen.
The thing about this, which is why I'm making the video, is I feel like there's a lot of emphasis in the world of boxing on this whole situation that Errol Spence flew through a car. Now, I went and covered Errol Spence Jr. Hey, stop that cat versus Sean Porter. And I remember it directly. It was like August, September 2019, right around there. And David Benavidez, Anthony Durrell fought on the undercard. Staples Center. This was before it was even called the cryptocurrency arena, etc. This was actually before Kobe Bryant had passed, before the pandemic was widely known about in the States. And the ironic thing or peculiar thing to me is that after, it was really right after, like, Errol Spence had just unified and he was on top of the world beating Sean Porter. And Errol Spence, after unifying, dropping, and beating Sean Porter years before Crawford did it, weeks after that, he got in this horrific car accident. So I remember at that specific time, we were dealing, I wasn't even at home because where I'm from in Northern California, there were these crazy wildfires and forced to evacuate and run the risk of the residents burning down. It was really bad. All this stuff adds up, but really bad California, NorCal wildfires that forced an evacuation. So I remember I actually got the news specifically when I was back at home dealing with the wildfires. And this was weeks after the Spence fight with Sean Porter. And so I remember the timepiece very well. And Errol Spence, he survived. He said, I'm going to do a tune-up. And I keep hearing the people in boxing, and it's like this is the only talking point, like that he was in a car wreck. And I get it, you know, it's going to be synonymous with his story at this point. But I would really like to be a fly on the wall during other fighters, like Vinny Pazienza. When Vinny Pazienza came back and fought against whoever he was fighting, and they made a movie about him, is this all people were talking about? Was him being in a wreck? Like, once you get to a point where, like, he's already done, Errol Spence has already had 2 fights since then, and they're high-level fights. Danny Garcia, who's about to fight Jose Benavidez in a new division, dominates him, and then Ugas stopped and dominated him. So I'm so curious and waiting to be enlightened when and how Errol Spence flying through the car, common knowledge story, how long does this last where this becomes the talking point? Because another reason I don't want it to be the talking point, because I want to get a dignified, undisputed, with no excuses. And it's like people keep saying this car accident stuff. If there were ever a time to be worried about how Errol Spence would look, I think the biggest pins and needles would be the moment where he had his first fight back which was the Danny Garcia fight after the physical therapy. Because at that moment, we truly didn't know how Errol Spence was going to look. Because I don't even think he knew how he's going to look. He knows about sparring. He knows, what went on in his training camp. But without headgear against a big puncher like Danny Garcia, multiple division champion, lineal champion, you don't really know until you get in there. And I thought Errol Spence passed with flying colors. So I just would like to see the world of boxing. And I can't tell grown men how to act and what to do, but I would like to see people move kind of beyond that and talk about the intangibles in the fight. Because again, if there were ever a point where Spence's tenacity or durability needed to be tested to the point where this should keep being brought up, I think that time and window has elapsed. He already came back and unified with Ugas and then beat a multiple division champion, as I just stated. Now, another reason I got to make this video is it's not just Tim Bradley referencing the accident. I also heard Roy Jones Jr. and he said, oh, we don't know what type of shape Spence is in if he's recovered from the accident. And this was stated in a recent interview with Roy talking about the Crawford fight. Roll the clip.
Spence won last 6 rounds with Crawford.
I don't know. We have to see what kind of shape Spence is in after that car wreck. A lot of people don't know the speculation because of the car wreck, what it did to him, but the car wreck didn't bother him too bad. We'll see. Crawford's a bad boy, but Spence, Spence is a pressure cooker. So if he can maintain with Crawford early, then he can make a good fight. But if he ain't on his game, they might be right.
So that was Roy Jones Jr. And he says if Spence, depending on how his mind and body basically is from the car accident. And I'm just curious to the world of boxing. At what point do we move beyond the accident? It happened. It's part of his story. I get it. But how much, that's why I really feel Errol Spence is being underappreciated here, because he's already proven his durability. He's already proven that he's mentally tough, because he told you in the fight with Danny Garcia, many things went wrong, I guess, in training camp. Now, I don't know what those things are. I wasn't in his camp or whatever the case is, but I remember not only did Errol Spence say it, Derek James said it. And depending on who you ask, Derek or Errol Spence, they said Errol was not 100% going into that Danny Garcia fight, right? They said he was anywhere from 40 to 70% of his capabilities going into that fight. Yet and still, Errol Spence fought Danny Garcia, and it was a one-sided massacre. You heard Angel Garcia kind of yelling at his son. He busted up the face of Danny Garcia. And whereas Danny's one of those Sean Porter type of fighters where his losses to the point had all been debatable. Depending on who you ask or what judge scored it, you could really make an argument for draw, Danny won, Danny lost, but all those were within the realm of plausible outcomes. When he fought Errol Spence Jr., there was no question. There was no oh, I think Danny won it here. Errol Spence won. So Errol's already showed he's a warrior. He's already showed his resiliency. It's 2022. I'm not a doctor, but I would just imagine the longer and the further you are removed from a catastrophic accident, the better it will be for you. And this still becomes a talking point. It's almost like it's glorified. Oh, I don't know. I respect Crawford. I know he's a dope fighter. He's a great fighter. But if Crawford beats Errol Spence, I don't think it'll be because of the accident or not. I think that it'll be because Crawford's the man and, outskilled him, outwilled him, or whatever the situation is, if that happens, right? So I'm just curious for the world of boxing, how needed is Errol Spence's accident in the actual evaluation and commentary of what's going to happen in the Spence versus Crawford undisputed fight? Again, I think Errol's already proven that he's strong enough to get by it, because no disrespect or shade to Terrence Crawford, but he's already fought 2 diligent warriors. One was coming off the best career win in his whole career, which was Dennis Ugas out of Cuba, the famed Cuba boxing school, and he had retired Pacquiao. So to me, I think people keep putting this immense focus on it, but that was equally a dangerous fight because he was coming off an eye injury. And before that, with Danny, he was coming off a car accident. So Errol Spence, he got past all of that. You know, he got all past all of that. So to me, I just feel like the point is being belabored. It's like really beating a dead horse at this point. Errol's tough. Errol fly through the car. Errol, his eye. He's already gotten past that. Like, so how many notches under his belt, how many performances, how many years must be in between for people to, you know, realize that and be like, okay, let me just call the fight based on the actual intangibles. And that's what I'm looking for in the world of boxing. Straight shooter, content. If you like it, subscribe to the channel. But I'm just hearing a lot about Errol's accidents as if it just happened, as if these things just happen. He's already has 2 in the can. I mean, how many times do you have to prove that you've moved on from that situation? It's like if you break up with somebody and you've had 2 boyfriends or girlfriends since that point. Okay, that person, that was years ago. You're with somebody else now. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm the best in the business. Y'all knew that though. And I'm introducing Super Thanks right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.